Welcome back to part 3 of the 2016 Smark Out Moment Awards. We've taken care of the Technical Skills Awards, we've taken care of the Writing Awards, and now we're on the offshoot brand new section here, the division that is called the Programming Awards, where we now have so many different TV shows that instead of having one award for the best show and the worst show, I wanted to break them up into different categories so that they can all kind of fight with each other a little bit more on, because you can't really compare something like 30-Second Fury to Raw. It's a little too hard to weigh the two of them equally. So instead, we've got different sections here, starting off with the analysis shows. They are the ones that analyze what's going on in WWE. They consist of the post and pre-shows, the Raw pre-show, Raw Talk, Talking Smack, and the SmackDown pre-show, as well as the clip and recap shows, Afterburn, Bottom Line, Experience, and This Week in WWE. My best I gave to Talking Smack. I think that is the only one that you actually should bother watching, unless you're, from another country and you can't get all the content from elsewhere. Then maybe you do want to watch something else. But my worst is every single one of the clip and recap shows, except for This Week in WWE. I'll give that a distinction enough that it's better than Afterburn, Bottom Line, and Experience. When in the grand scheme of things, those are all just sort of a waste, and I don't see any point in checking them out whatsoever. So, analysis shows. Which person wants to go first?
I'll go, because I'm just going to agree with you.
Yeah, I was about to say exactly the same.
All right, then, Calen.
Well, I'm going to say for the best, I'm going to say Talking Smack. And for the worst, I'm going to say any of the pre-shows. I mean, not necessarily the pay-per-view ones as much, but the Raw and SmackDown pre-shows. There's never anything. It's like, oh my gosh, did you see the pre-show for Raw? No. Who cares? So inconsequential. So that's it.
They're even worse
But Talking
now.
Smack, definitely, because because Miz is a whiz.
I'm the whiz.
And he's great on the mic. So especially when he was on there.
I'm the whiz. Nobody beats me. The best and worst interview shows are the interview-based content, which is pretty self-explanatory. Legends with JBL, Shane Tells All with Mick Foley, that one little special. The Stone Cold Podcast, Superstar Inc., and Unfiltered with Renee Young. My favorite out of them overall is Legends with JBL. I didn't really love all the additions to it, but I would have given this to Stone Cold's podcast, except he had that Dean Ambrose one. And I can't remember if the Page one was this year or not, but I think it might have been. And the Ambrose one alone was the worst out of pretty much everything. Although my worst, I'm going to give that Shane Tells All with Mick Foley. I wanted that to actually be a good interview with Shane, where he talked about the problems that he has with Stephanie, Triple H, and Vince McMahon. And instead it basically became Mick Foley going, hey, it's good to have you around. And Shane going, yeah, it's pretty good. All right, see you later, everybody. That was a waste. Total waste. Not a big fan of Superstar Inc. either. Unfiltered's okay. Interview shows. Who wants to go first?
Well, I'll go first because I fucked this up. Best interview show, I've gone with Chris Jericho's podcast. Great. Worst interview show, I went with Jim Ross's podcast because that's just an hour of ads before he actually talks to his hosts or guests. So, fuck that.
So two non-WWE shows.
But if I had to pick WWE shows, I would go Superstar Inc. as the worst because I really don't give a fuck why you got tattoos. Just go fuck off.
But they
and
all
die.
mean a whole lot. This is fucking grandmother who died, and like.
Well, now that's good. Keep it to yourself. And best, I've gone with excuse me, I had a burp. And best, I've gone with Stone Cold Steve Austin because it's a cop out.
Dace.
Best, I'm going to have to go with Legends with JBL because he got so many good guests this year. Like, he had Bruno Sammartino, and anytime that man talks, it's almost really hard not to cry because he survived the Holocaust in a mountain.
What?
And for the worst is the Superstar Inc. because I don't care. I don't have tattoos, so I really don't give a fuck.
He survived the Holocaust in a mountain?
Yeah, you never heard the story where like his whole town moved up to the top of a mountain to avoid the Nazis, and he almost died up there? Like, holy shit.
Well,
and then he became like the world's strongest man.
All that and more on Legends with JBL.
Yeah, I summed it up in a really shitty way. They do it a lot better.
All right, Calen, interview shows.
Got to go with the Stone Cold podcast. And yes, the Ambrose one was remarkably terrible. And I'm probably biased because I'm also including all the ones that are not on the WWE network, but all the ones that he has on Podcast One or whatever. As far as the worst, I'd have to go with Legends of JBL. Maybe I haven't given it enough of a chance this year, but whenever I've started to watch it, I just get bored right away. So I've never actually watched a whole episode of it just because I'm so bored that I turn it off.
Even with stories about mountains?
Even with the mountain stories.
Our YouTube shows consist of 5 Things, which was canceled, 30 Second Fury, Fallout, which is pretty much just a general term for all the backstage things that they do post-Raw and everything, WWE Game Night, Shooting the Breeze with Tyler Breeze, Top 10, and Up, Up, Down, Down, that entire channel. And that's pretty hard for me to go with anything for the best other than Up, Up, Down, Down because it's got so much more content and so fucking awesome. 30 Second Fury, though, is going to be my worst because why am I going to watch 30 seconds of them just doing super kicks and stuff? I kind of don't see the point in that whatsoever. That's what other people do on YouTube, and I click on something, and then I go, oh, crap, you set it to some Evanescence or something? I don't give a shit about this. Then I click off of it, and then I remove it from my history so I don't see any more recommendations for it. So, fuck you, 30 Second Fury. You can go, fuck off, I guess. I don't know. YouTube shows, we all have some YouTube stuff going out there, but Shaun, what you got?
Best YouTube show, obviously, Premier Pals, which is hosted by myself. And the Dace Man Show, which is also hosted by my lovely co-host, Chris Dace.
Give him the fucking belt. Give him the belt.
If you guys haven't subscribed yet, what the fuck is wrong with you? Just do it now. But for WWE, I've got to go with this week. I'm going to count that as a YouTube show. This week in WWE. Pretty damn good if you just want to watch 10 seconds of Raw and it shows you like everything that's happened in like snippets, so I don't have to watch that shit and I know what's going on. Worst is, did you say cancelled?
What, 5 Things is canceled?
5 Things that's cancelled, is it?
Yeah.
Why the fuck would you name your show that?
No, it's not the name of the show.
Oh, it's not the name of the show?
The name of the show is 5 Things, but it was canceled.
Oh, then I'm going to go with that because it was cancelled.
That'd be great if that was the show. 5 Things is canceled. Who's next?
I'll go next. The best YouTube show is by far Up, Up, Down, Down, Left, Right, BA Start. It's so entertaining, especially when it's wrestlers I don't really care about. Watching them in that environment's a lot of fun. As far as worst YouTube show, I'll say all of the others because I don't watch them.
Dace?
I second his motion.
For both of them?
Yep, same thing. The exact same answer I was going to get. Fuck the get out of YouTube. You suck at YouTube now.
Yeah,
Bring back Zack Ryder.
Stop taking hits from us.
Yeah.
WWE Network original shows consist of Breaking Ground, which was only 1 episode this year, which is really dumb. Camp WWE, the Edge and Christian show that totally reeks of awesomeness. There's your kind of 5 Things is canceled. That's the opposite, right? Holy Foley, Ride Along, Swerved, Table for 3, WWE 24, and WWE Story Time. The best I gave to Edge and Christian. That was a show that I hated the very first episode of, and then it ended up getting better and better and better, and now I really want them to do a season 2. But Holy Foley, more like holy shit, that was an awful show. I could not watch those episodes. It was just beyond terrible. I love Mick Foley. I think that he's great. But watching his family and his wife talk about dolls and his 2 youngest kids just kind of being like, we're here too, sitting on the couch for no fucking reason. Awful show. Awful. Dace, we're going to go with you first.
Edge and Christian for the win. Worst WWE Story Time. It's like 10 minutes long. Now that belongs on fucking YouTube. But...
yeah, that would be better off there. Just little, like, whatever the 3-minute clips are, just make them separate videos, you know?
Yeah, you can't sit down and actually, by the time you start getting into it, it's over. Fuck you.
And the stories suck, too. It's like, hey, remember that time that nothing happened? I do.
Yeah.
Let's go, Calen.
All right. I'm a little different. I like story time. I didn't make it my best, but I like story time. I like the Edge and Christian one a lot too, but that did not win my top. I went with Ride Along. I really like that, seeing the guys in a shoot environment. So even though it's sort of scripted in a way, as far as who they set up and put together, they're not normal writing partners. I still like that a lot, especially when they left. Who did they leave?
Byron Saxton.
Byron Saxton left Byron Saxton behind, and they just fucking ditched him. That was great. As far as worst, got to go with Holy Foley as well. As much as I like Mick Foley and as attractive as his daughter may be, it wasn't enough to save that. So Holy Foley, holy shit in the garbage.
Now that you mentioned Ride Along, it just made me think of, I don't know if it was this year or last year, but the one with Ambrose and Reigns, and he just keeps going, Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Yes.
Got stuck in my head, and now it's stuck in my head again. God damn it. Shaun, what you got for the network shows?
For the best, I've gone with Table 3 because I enjoy watching that. I enjoy watching the environment. The only one I haven't enjoyed is the one with that bird from WCW, whatever her name is.
Medusa?
Yeah, her. That was the worst show for me. And the worst I've gone with also Holy Foley because I've never been a big fan of Mick Foley. I'm sorry, I just don't like him. I just don't find him appealing.
I really didn't
his daughter is very appealing though. I follow her on Instagram and she's her boobs speak words to me.
That's a good talent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big fan of this season of Swerved either. This year sucked for that. Don't prank fans. Prank each other. I don't want to see you go like, I got Jimmy, the fucking guy in the background. It's like, I don't give a fuck about Jimmy. Let's go with primary shows. Raw main event, Superstars, which is canceled. That's not the name of the show either. NXT, SmackDown, Total Divas, Total Bellas, the Cruiserweight Classic, and 205 Live. I went with the worst being a tie between Total Divas and Total Bellas. I can't stomach that shit. I tried for a bunch of seasons. You got enough out of me. I ain't watching that crap anymore. And the best was the Cruiserweight Classic. I thought that we had, 20 episodes of that or something like that? Or 10 maybe? I don't know. And that was solid. Every single episode was great. So, even though it was a temporary thing, I thought that was by far above and beyond the best of the primary shows. And I'm actually going to even spoil this. My best overall program of the year. Let's tie this in together between those two things, because we already talked about the other things. My best overall program of the year, best was Cruiserweight Classic. And I'll tell about my worst in a minute. But primary shows, what you got? Shaun, let's go with you.
Primary show is no secret. I am loving SmackDown. It's back to how it was back in the early 2000s. Very watchable, very enjoyable. So much better than Raw. Also, I've also gone with TNA as well because fuck you, Tony. I'm breaking the rules.
Is that your American accent?
TNA is so good. Brooke Matt Hardy for the win. And for worst, I've gone with Raw because 3 hours is just too long for that boring ass shit. And you got Roman Reigns on the fucking roster, and I really don't give a fuck.
Dace, primary shows.
Best, I'm gonna go with NXT because it's glorious. Worst, I'm gonna go with 205 Live because you can catch it every Monday night on Raw.
Calen, what you got?
Even though I feel like I've run a marathon after I watched it, I got to go with Raw. I'm still liking Raw a lot. I know a lot of people prefer SmackDown right now. I'm a Raw guy. As far as worst primary show, Total Divas and Bellas. You nailed it, Tony. I don't give a shit about that reality show garbage.
So that ties into the overall program of the year because it factors in everything that we just did for all those categories. And I mentioned before, my best is Cruiserweight Classic. My worst, out of all the worst that I've mentioned, the worst was Holy Foley. Had to go with Holy Foley for the worst on that one. Dace, what you got?
Best, I'm going to stick with NXT. Worst, I'm going to go with Camp WWE. That thing was that's pretty painful. They had maybe one moment. No, I take it back. It's the worst.
Shaun?
Wow.
Oh, fuck it out.
I kind of don't get what's so funny then, but
I don't know.
How many cans are you in?
7. Best. I've gone with SmackDown, and worst. I've gone with Raw. Although, have they had a Diva Search this year?
No.
Oh, no. Oh, then definitely Raw. Fuck that show. Fuck those 3 hours. Thank fuck for the brand split. Yeah.
And Calen, overall program of the year?
Now, this might not count, but I'm going to say all the NXT takeovers together. Does that count? No?
No,
okay,
that's
then I'm going to go
grouped in with special event and pay-per-view.
All right, then I'm going to go with Raw. I have the most fun overall with Raw. And worst, again, that reality show bullshit. Divas Bellas, total crap.
So that ties us into the pay-per-view or special event of the year. All the ones on the main roster for either Raw or SmackDown, or at the beginning of the year when it was, the same roster. Also includes the NXT TakeOver events. It also includes Tribute to the Troops and the WWE Draft. And there was little side things like that. So my pick for that one is actually a tie. I couldn't quite decide. I went back and forth a little bit between these two, and I think I'd have to rewatch them to decide, but I really don't have the time to rewatch them. But the two options that I had written down for that were Clash of Champions and NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 2. I thought that they were both kind of balanced as far as the amount of positives and negatives that they had, so I can't really quite decide yet. But my worst is going to go to SummerSlam. I was not a big fan of SummerSlam overall. It was like one match that I liked, and that was about it. And they had that terrible Randy Orton versus Brock Lesnar match, which was just horribly disappointing in so many different ways. So I really disliked that. What you guys got for a pay-per-view and special event? Calen, start off with you.
Best pay-per-view or special event. WrestleMania is always good. WrestleMania, I liked it this year, but I got to go with the Royal Rumble. Just the whole gimmick of it, I love. And this year was a lot of fun, too, even though it was kind of predictable with Triple H and everything. As far as the worst pay-per-view or special event, I have to go with Roadblock End of the Line. It was just so forgettable and inconsequential. I didn't care for it at all.
I can see that. Dace, what you got?
For the best, I would go with NXT TakeOver Toronto because it was glorious, as well as Mickie James made her return to the WWE, which is phenomenal. As for the worst, pretty much any Raw pay-per-view after the brand split. I don't think I've actually sat through the whole thing. I may have done it physically, but not mentally.
And Shaun, round us out for all these awards.
Best Backlash, because that's when I shagged the missus, and every pay-per-view up until Survivor Series was really good because we were busy wrestling each other, and then after Survivor Series it all fell apart and she broke up with me and broke my heart, and fuck that bitch and fuck women.
Now we understand the backstory behind some of these awards, at least.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys. As I mentioned before, a bunch of different times. We're going to continue on here. We got on-air personality awards and wrestler awards coming up in those next two parts. Do all the stuff I mentioned before. I'm not running it down again. You should have checked out the other parts ahead of time, and you should know the score by now. So click on the next part, and we will see you there.